Howard, no question we can't sustain the fiscal trajectory that we're on in this country, but first things first, we got to get people back to work. And the way we've seen in America to get people back to work is to grow this economy. And we've already seen an attempt 20 months ago to grow the economy by growing government. That's not worked. And so right now, when we're talking about these taxes, no one should have to suffer under a tax hike right now while we're hovering around 10% unemployment. That's first. Yes, we've got to get about the fiscal discipline and begin to cut spending. We need to move those discretionary levels back to at least '08, if not '06, pre-stimulus levels of spending. We can do these kind of things and work together. But I think it is a fairly consistent majority in America that would say right now, in this type of recession especially, no one should have their taxes increased. And let's remember, you know, we talk about tax cuts. I hear you talk about, Howard, and it's not a tax cut, because one of two things is going to happen come January 1. Either your taxes are going to go up or they're going to stay the same. And that's the way the working families and small business people are looking at this equation right now. And the fact that we left Washington last week and did not address that is one of the biggest problems, I think, facing this economy right now because of the uncertainty it leaves. That's the issue.
History is not on your side. When Bill Clinton came in, at mind the huge federal deficits that were left to him by Ronald Reagan and George Bush, he raised taxes. And he presided over the best 8 years of American economy in the last 100 years. So the fact is, your arguments are great political arguments, but they don't add up economically, which has been one of the major problems that we've seen in the last 30 years.
Instead of going back to the Clinton years, let's just look at the last 20 months. It has not worked. This gargantuan reach by Washington and incurrence of more debt than this country has incurred in the last 200 years hasn't worked. People are still out of work. You hear, and I know you're hearing it as well, small business people, working families, investors are scared to death because they don't know where Washington's going next. So the equity is sitting on the sidelines, refusing to enter into the game of risk-based investment, and we're at a standstill. Meanwhile, you've got other countries like China and India and Brazil. They're actually going towards the free market policies that we know have worked for us. How in the world could we sit here and say that Washington at this point needs more revenues when we're not doing anything to cut spending?
You're not doing anything to cut spending either. There's been these cockamamie proposals that you and Paul Ryan have put out to privatize Social Security, privatize Medicare. This stuff doesn't work. I mean, I don't mean to be disrespectful, but these are crackpot theories that have been tried out for 30 years. Supply side economics just plain doesn't work. We have to really balance the budget, and that means we can't just use political slogans 29 days before an election. You actually have to do something to balance the budget.
Come join the discussion, because it happens to be that the plan that Paul has put out is the only comprehensive plan that's out there right now. And again, the president may say, well, we'd love to entertain into a discussion, and that is a plan with a legitimate sort of rationale to it, but no other plan has been put on the table. There's not a two-way discussion, and instead, as we are 29 days out from this election, all that's going on is political attacks about this plan and the attempt to scare folks as we near an election. That's not the way that people want to see our government functioning.